The other key thing to realize is that big data will also fundamentally change one key characteristic of the human species. And that is the very approach we take to solving problems in the future. Let me explain. Think carefully about this. For the first 1,000 years of humanity, when we faced a new problem, we created theories and solutions to understand the world around us and to solve potentially new problems that could occur. And then we continued using those theories and testing those theories until possibly new evidence arose that disproved the current theory. And so then we were compelled to tweak that theory and come up with a completely new paradigm. Our earliest attempts at this were religion and theology. They were the first attempts to create a model of the universe that we really couldn't quite understand. Those early models would then eventually give way to the likes of Kepler and Galileo, and their axioms had to then be put into play. But they would be readjusted to works of the new people, Newton. And Newtonian views of the universe were then tweaked and had to give way to Einstein's theories. That's how the scientific method has worked for the first 50,000 years of humanity. There is a consensus, then someone challenges it, and a new paradigm is born. Thousands of years of civilization worked in this way. But it turns out that from here on in, we may operate in a slightly different way. It turns out that for the next 1,000 years, we may well work in a very different way. In fact, we won't seek answers to problems in the way our ancestors used to. Instead, we will put the majority of our future efforts as a species simply in collecting huge amounts of data. And then we will unleash machine learning systems upon that vast reservoir of data, and the data itself will reveal trends, hidden patterns, and then even propose corresponding theories which might prove useful for the human species. The data itself will point the way to solving problems. Problems which we either didn't know we had, or that we were blindly groping around for in a completely fruitless area of research somewhere else. That's something about us. We are goal-oriented animals. The human species has always myopically focused on one spot when it's trying to solve problems, even though that the answers might be hiding somewhere completely different. All models are wrong. So proclaimed the famous statistician George Box around 30 years ago. What he and many others were implying is that we might be entering an era where the scientific method itself becomes just a secondary way of looking at things, of studying the world around us. When we are able to gather and we are presented with such huge volumes of data on every single minute element of the human condition, and when we observe that data in an objective, context agnostic way, big data, or more specifically AI systems working with big data, will reveal theories to us where none previously existed. And context agnostic is the key. These machine learning systems won't need to have context. They won't need to have a distinct purpose or a need to solve one particular problem. They will have no purpose except to eventually find patterns in the data and then to inform us of the usefulness or potential applications thereafter. Be it in healthcare, finance, education, agriculture, scientific exploration, or any other field. The answers to problems within any of these areas lies possibly in the unstructured data that is spewing out around the world. But the exciting things actually start to happen when we start to cross-pollinate the data from one sector or discipline to a completely unrelated discipline. Let me give you an example.